Hi, my name is Rachel and I'm an artist and illustrator. The Bouts Museum have asked me to create a video on the theme Portrait Through Objects, taking inspiration from the painting St. Luke Drawing the Virgin and Child by Dieric Bouts. In this painting we can see St. Luke, who is the patron saint of artists, sketching a portrait of the Virgin and Child. Also, art historians believe that the figure of St. Luke could be a self-portrait of the artist himself. Off to the right-hand side of the painting, we see a glimpse into the artist's studio, which we can work out through the furniture and objects. There is an easel and canvas, some brushes, a palette, and most interestingly, zooming right up close, there are small mussel shells containing paint. This is because artists at the time would have had to make their own paint and would have stored it in shells. In this video, we're going to explore still life photography, thinking about how objects can give an insight into our personalities as a kind of portrait. We're going to think about composition, lighting, and styling. If you look in any magazine or cookbook, you'll get a sense of how the photographer has styled the objects, maybe putting similar colours and shapes next to one another, or different textures and different patterns next to one another. In still life photography, a story is told through the objects. So now the first step is gathering a collection of objects and props to arrange. Think about objects that are significant to you, or say something about your personality and interests. Is there anything you collect? What's your favourite colour or shape? Could it be something from your childhood that you've kept, or something relating to your family? Pause the video and find a few objects. You can always find more later. And please remember to ask permission if they don't belong to you. Now you want to find a surface to display and then photograph your objects on. You could lay down a sheet as a background, but make sure there is nothing around that might get damaged or knocked over, or you might trip over. Also check there is nothing in shot with an address or phone number on it, or any photos with people. So here are the objects I've gathered, and now I'm going to select some to experiment with through photography. For my first composition, I've chosen to lay down a tablecloth and a patterned dressing gown as a background. I was taking inspiration from this Philippine cuisine cookbook that I've borrowed from my mum. A lot of these objects relate to my family heritage as my mum is Filipino. I've also borrowed dishes and bowls to convey this sense of cooking. I'm moving the objects around to work out an interesting arrangement. Nothing is fixed at this stage, so it's all about experimentation. The shells give a sense of floating islands, and garlic, ginger and onion are all common ingredients in Filipino recipes. These help add to the story. Could your objects stack or fit inside one another? Could you also bring in other objects as props to relate to your story? When you're happy with your first composition, use a camera or a phone camera to capture photos from different angles. Then move your objects and take more. It's better to have a selection to choose from. If you want to take a photo from above, like me, then make sure you do so safely, not standing on any furniture you might fall off. These are glasses that I've had over the years. I'm currently wearing contact lenses, but I feel a strong sense of nostalgia looking at all these old frames. They were all at one time so much a part of my identity. I've laid down a big sheet of paper for the background this time, as I want to play with light and shadow. I'm closing the blinds and curtains to help with this. Using elastic bands, I've temporarily attached the frames together, but I could have used masking tape as well or blue tack. If you have a torch or easily movable lamp, you could try shining the light source from different angles. I'm also trying different coloured paper for the background. Adding in other objects which I feel relate to sight and my drawing practice, pencils, pastels and elastic bands. This is my favourite from that composition. A bit more abstract, but I like the difference between the circular and linear shape of the objects and the circular shadows. I had another idea using the shells from the first composition. Using a blue towel and floaty green scarf to give a sense of the sea, I've tried to create a portrait through objects of St. Luke using shells to store his paint in. At this time of the day, the light coming through my blinds also makes it seem like rippling sunlight through water. Really look at your own objects and think about what stories they could tell. You might not use all the objects you've gathered, And remember that nothing is fixed. It's all about trying out lots of different compositions and taking enough photos to choose from. I hope you've enjoyed creating a portrait through objects. If you'd like to enter any of your photographs into the Bouts Art Competition for young people, please go to the Bowes Museum website for more details or email Jessica.White@thebowesmuseum.org.uk.